This is not the Hitler of the grand speeches. This is the Hitler of silence. The one who signed blacklists. The one who killed his friends. The one who was already conspiring long before he wore a uniform or led a party with a name. Hitler was not elected by the people, nor did he seize power with tanks. He demanded it. In 1933, he blackmailed President Hindenburg until he was appointed Chancellor. There were no overwhelming votes, no clear majority. In 1928, his party barely scraped 2.6%, but he knew how to manipulate chaos. And once he set foot inside the Chancellery, the takeover happened from within. He burned the Reichstag, outlawed political parties, silenced the press, and ordered the killing of those who had once stood beside him. Figures like Gregor Strasser and former Chancellor Kurt von Schleicher. It was a farce wrapped in legality. Yet his true goal was not to protect Germany, but to arm it. And once he rose to power, the flames did not take long to appear.
Do you solemnly swear to carry out the obligations of the office of Chancellor without party interests and for the good of the nation?
I do.
For all practical purposes, before the flames consumed the German parliament, Adolf Hitler was already in control. He was not president, but he was chancellor. He was not yet a dictator, but he already directed the executive branch. His appointment on January 30th, 1933, was not the result of an electoral triumph, but of pressure, political deals, and a fear campaign that paralyzed the old system. Field Marshal Paul von Hindenburg, president of the Weimar Republic, agreed to listen to the demands of that charismatic leader of the National Socialist Party and offer him a position at the top of the government.
Vice-Chancellor? You must be joking. Not at all. The Vice-Chancellorship is the third most powerful position in Germany. My party's popularity demands a great deal more than third place.
What precisely are you asking for, sir?
I want the Chancellorship, sir.
At first, giving in to that ego did not seem like a viable path. But in the end, under pressure from conservative elites, Hindenburg relented and named Hitler Chancellor, believing he could keep him under control. It was a mistake, one that would reshape world history. Adolf wasted no time. As soon as he took office, he demanded new powers, pushed to dissolve parliament, and called for new elections. But he still needed something else, a pretext, a spark. That spark came on the night of February 27th, 1933, when the Reichstag, the German parliament building, went up in flames.
Do you have any suspects?
Has anyone been arrested?
What actions will you take as a result of this?
Could this be a communist plot?
What happened?
Apparently a Dutch communist broke in and set the fire. Police have him under arrest.
The fire did far more than destroy a building. It burned away the last remnants of German democracy. Amid the chaos, police arrested a young Dutch communist, Marinus van der Lubbe, whom they immediately presented as the lone perpetrator. Hitler did not wait for evidence. He arrived at the scene and, surrounded by smoke, delivered the sentence that marked the beginning of his dictatorship. This is a sign from God. If this fire is, as I believe, the work of the communists, then we must crush that murderous plague with an iron fist. For him, the fire proved a conspiracy to spark a revolution. There was no proof, but that did not matter. That same night, Hitler demanded that President Hindenburg sign an emergency decree. At dawn on February 28th, barely 24 hours after the blaze, the Reichstag decree was enacted. Its full title, Decree of the Reich President for the Protection of the People and the State. But its real meaning was simpler, the death certificate of the Weimar Republic.
This completely overrides the Constitution. Effectively, it puts you in charge.
These are troubled times, sir. The Constitution could not anticipate them. The national monument has been destroyed. Our democracy is under attack. If we're to wage war on these foreign infiltrators, certain civil rights must be suspended.
And that was exactly what it became. With that decree, all civil liberties were suspended. Freedom of the press, freedom of assembly, freedom of expression, the inviolability of the home, the privacy of correspondence. Germany became a police state. The SA and SS patrolled the streets. The prisons filled. Within days, more than 10,000 opponents were arrested. Communists, social democrats, union leaders, journalists. Many were tortured. Others simply disappeared. The irony was brutal. Everything happened under the guise of the law. No tanks in the streets, no military coup, just signatures, seals, and speeches. A dictatorship born legally. While the smoke of the Reichstag still hung over Berlin, Hitler and his allies seized the moment Goebbels, his minister of propaganda, took full control of the media. Göring, from the Prussian Interior Ministry, used the police to crush any resistance. Those who spoke up were silenced. Those who protested vanished. What shocked the world was the speed. In less than a day, a nation with a free press, political pluralism, and independent courts became an authoritarian regime. It wasn't an assault from the outside. It was a takeover from within.
Using the Reichstag fire as a pretext for seizing power, the Nazi conspirators lost no time in tearing Germany away from a policy of peace. Late in 1933, they led their nation out of the disarmament conference, quit the League of Nations, and embarked on a course of secret rearmament.
And it all began with fire. Because that blaze, still shrouded in uncertainty, was not only a crime, it was a weapon. And in the hands of Nazism, every weapon served the purpose of destruction. The Weimar Republic did not fall in battle. It was undone by a decree. A document signed by an elderly president and written by a chancellor who never believed in democracy and had finally found the perfect moment to realize his ambitions. But Hitler's plan reached far beyond that. Once he secured power, he sharpened it with precision. By 1934, his dominance was unquestionable. He controlled the government, the media, and the streets. But Nazism was not a monolithic force. Within the party, divisions simmered and rival ambitions clashed. Among the most problematic figures was Ernst Röhm, head of the SA, the feared stormtroopers who had been the muscle of the Nazi rise. Röhm was a comrade from the earliest days, rough, loyal, but dangerous. He called for a second revolution, one that would redistribute wealth and turn the SA into the new army of the Reich. Hitler listened, but only in silence. He no longer needed Röhm.
Put me in charge of the army, and I'll unite them behind you. This is our chance.
Great idea. Why didn't I think of that? Could it be because the army consider you a swine? At the mere suggestion, they flew the National Socialist flag rather than subordinate themselves to you.
The regular army, the Reichswehr, deeply distrusted Röhm, and its loyalty was crucial for Hitler's next move, merging his personal power with the institutional power of the state. Faced with a choice between his old friend, who demanded revolution, and the generals, who promised obedience, Hitler did not hesitate. Röhm was one of the few men who still intimidated him. Betrayal came easily.
You refuse to bend. Why? You have power.
I don't want the power, I want justice. And my men will promise.
I don't care. I don't care. I don't give a damn about promises. You know this. You know this. Ernst, the SA are not now, nor will they ever be, the official German army. You must stand down.
The operation to eliminate Röhm began on June 30th, 1934, and lasted 2 days. Its official name was Hummingbird, but history remembers it as the Night of the Long Knives. It was a brutal purge, carried out without trials. Hitler ordered the death of his own allies, the ones he could no longer control. Ernst Röhm was arrested at a Bavarian guest house. He was handed a revolver to take his own life, but he refused, declaring that only Hitler had the right to kill him. Minutes later, he was shot in his cell as yet another lie was told to the German people.
I know you think this is a betrayal, but Chief of Staff Röhm was planning my assassination. I had no choice.
Hi, Führer.
But Röhm was not alone. Gregor Strasser, former leader of the party's left wing, was executed without trial. The same fate befell General Kurt von Schleicher, former Chancellor of Germany, and his wife, both shot in their home. Critics, journalists, political rivals, and dozens of mid-level SA members were also eliminated. It was a selective massacre. Official numbers listed 85 dead, but other estimates placed the toll above 400. The coldness was chilling. Hitler justified the killings before the Reichstag, claiming he had saved Germany from chaos. The murders were praised as acts of statecraft. Once again, the law was twisted so that bloodshed appeared as justice. The Reichswehr, satisfied, swore loyalty not to the state, but directly to Hitler. The SA, humiliated, were pushed aside, and the message was unmistakable. No one was safe, not even the founders of the movement. The Night of the Long Knives was not only a purge, it was a warning. In the new Reich, there was no room for a doubt or dissent. There was only the path Hitler commanded. From that moment on, Nazism stopped being a political party and became a dictatorship under one man, and that man, drunk with power, sought to control the very thoughts of his people. In Hitler's Germany, thinking differently became an act of rebellion. Speaking was suicidal. Silence became a survival instinct. After taking control of the state, the Nazi Party launched a systematic campaign to erase all dissent. It didn't matter whether they were communists, social democrats, liberals, Protestant pastors, Catholic priests, or troublesome writers. Each one was viewed as a threat to the Führer's single narrative. Persecution began with political opponents. Communists were the first. Ernst Thälmann, leader of the German Communist Party, was arrested in 1933.
Sie wissen wohl, was nun kommt.
Ja. Ein besseres Deutschland. Ein Deutschland ohne euch.
Thälmann spent 11 years imprisoned, isolated, and without trial. In 1944, when he no longer held propaganda value, he was executed with a shot to the back of the neck in Buchenwald concentration camp. Social Democrats suffered the same fate. Their leaders were exiled, imprisoned, or made to disappear. But Hitler did not stop there. After political parties were dismantled, the next enemies were consciences. Religion was not spared. Many Protestant pastors refused to turn their churches into instruments of Nazism. One of them was Martin Niemöller, who initially supported the regime but rebelled when he saw Hitler attempt to reshape Christianity into a tool of the state. His punishment was 7 years in concentration camps between Sachsenhausen and Dachau. He survived and left behind one of the most haunting testimonies of that era. First, they came for the socialists, and I did not speak out because I was not a socialist. Then they came for the Jews, and I did not speak out because I was not a Jew. Then they came for me, and by then there was no one left to speak for me. Even more defiant was the case of Dietrich Bonhoeffer, a Lutheran theologian and member of the resistance. Bonhoeffer not only opposed Nazism from the pulpit, he helped Jews escape and joined a plot to assassinate Hitler. He was arrested, tortured, and ultimately executed on April 9, 1945 in Flossenbürg concentration camp, just weeks before the Third Reich collapsed.
Father, give unto thy servants that peace which the world cannot give.
But that was not all. In universities, ideological cleansing was just as relentless. Professors were purged, books were banned, and intellectual conformity was enforced. Thousands of scholars fled the country, and those who stayed learned to keep their heads down. In May 1933 in Berlin, the Hitler Youth organized a public book burning the flames-consumed works by Freud, Marx, Einstein, Brecht, and many others. The regime was not debating ideas, it was eradicating them. In every city, a network of surveillance and denunciation spread. People had to be wary, even of their own children, who could report them for a careless comment. The Gestapo needed no evidence. Suspicion was enough. Then came the nighttime arrests, and those taken rarely saw daylight again. Concentration camps, initially intended as temporary prisons, became warehouses of dissent. They held not only Jews, but political opponents, religious leaders, homosexuals, Roma people, and dissidents of all kinds. Camps like Dachau and Sachsenhausen became cogs in a machinery built for punishment and silence. In Nazi Germany, words became dangerous, and only one voice was allowed to echo, the voice of the man who not only seized power, but shaped it, sharpened it, purged it of enemies, and claimed it as his own. By 1934, there were no real barriers left. The opposition had been crushed, the press silenced, the churches monitored, and the Nazi Party reshaped into an instrument of absolute obedience. But one final symbol still stood above Hitler, the President of the Reich, Paul von Hindenburg, an elderly, almost ceremonial figure, decorative, yet still carrying the last traces of legitimacy from the old Germany. On August 2, 1934, Hindenburg died at his estate in East Prussia. He was 86 years old. The moment his heart stopped, the last institutional obstacle vanished. That same day, Hitler merged the roles of Chancellor and President, creating a new title. Führer und Reichskanzler, leader and Chancellor of the Reich. But a decree was not enough. Hitler wanted something deeper, a total consecration. So he did what no modern dictator had attempted before. He transformed power into faith. He ordered the German army, the Reichswehr, to swear personal allegiance not to the state, not to the Constitution, but to him, to Adolf Hitler.
Subsequent to the death of President Hindenburg, the office of Reichspräsident will be combined with that of Reichschancellor. The army has devised an oath of unconditional loyalty to the person of the Führer, to be taken by every officer and soldier of the armed forces. Do you, hereby swear allegiance.
He was no longer a politician. He was power incarnate. The machinery was complete. No parliament, no court, no general could contradict him without committing treason. To oppose the Führer was to oppose Germany, and whoever opposed Germany had to disappear. In schools, children learned his name before they learned their parents. In the streets, portraits of Hitler became more common than crucifixes. On the radio, his voice filled the silence of every home. In books, on walls, in songs, Hitler was no longer a man. He was a totalitarian symbol. The Weimar Republic died from within, devoured by legality, crushed by decrees, suffocated by fear. Germany was not conquered. It surrendered, step by step, to a regime that disguised tyranny as national salvation. And thus began the Third Reich, an empire built on terror, propaganda, and obedience. Born not on a battlefield, but in offices, speeches, corridors, and conspiracies. A place where law became a blade and democracy bled slowly until it no longer breathed. Hitler's rise was no accident. It was a plan, and its success was also a collective failure. While many looked the other way, others believed they could control him, and some even applauded him. By the time they realized the truth, speaking out was no longer possible. Absolute power did not arrive with shouting. It arrived through pacts, through fear, and through fires that burned too close. When he finally rose as dictator, it was already too late. The clock of history had begun to mark its darkest hour. Thus, we come to the end. If you liked this video, we'll be waiting for you in our next installment of War Documents